What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Captain Trucker here. Welcome back to the channel. Here in North Little Rock, Arkansas, as a matter of fact. On today's video, I want to talk about this idea that foreigners and expats, do they need friends when they're in the Philippines, okay? So if you've never been to the Philippines, if you're thinking about becoming an expat, is it important to have friends in these countries? And I want to challenge some of those ideas, okay? So, you know, first of all, I've talked about this before in the past that, you know, expat isolation, especially in retirement, it can be not the best thing. So it is important that people have, I guess, friends, they call it, right? Like not just Filipinos in this case, but other foreigners, people from your same background and some kind of commonalities and so forth. But we see some expats do isolate themselves and they don't want to maybe mingle with too many people, which can be both good and bad. The bad part is that you can basically get isolated and lonely and start to be totally disconnected from anything from your past culture or reference. But some people are looking for that. Like some expats don't want to deal with their own countrymen anymore. They want to fully immerse and adapt in like a foreign culture, like in the Philippines, and, you know, develop this collective, simplistic mentality and enjoy life and all that and enjoy the simple things. Okay, but for a lot of people that's hard, all right? And they do need like connections, friends, and so forth. But I do want to challenge some of this idea that it's so important to necessarily have like friends, plural, like lots of friends especially. I think more and more with social media, like we tend to have a very like superficial, like shallow outlook on what is like really a friendship, right? I mean, I could say we both have inspired each other. We both encouraged each other at different times, you know, helped each other without anything in return, you know, like not all selfishly or selflessly, but, you know, real friends are there to help each other. They actually care about each other. They'll listen to you. Like, you know, some people in supposed friendships, like some people, I guess they just want to be heard and basically talk about themselves the whole time, which is fine. Like I'm a good listener myself, but I have like encountered that like in the Philippines, like with certain expats. And I think some of that might have to do with, I mean, we got to be totally real. Like some expats are problematic. Like they have issues. They might have psychological issues. They might have stress from their past. They might not be fully acclimated to the culture. And, you know, they might be needy and they got a lot of stuff they need to talk about, want to talk about. You know, maybe they didn't have the most successful lives in their home country and they're battling that and they're trying to adjust to the Philippines. But yeah, you do meet some problematic people there. And, you know, some expats can definitely be toxic, okay? So you got to be careful with that, and don't be afraid to be like, oh, I got to be friends with everybody in the community. I've seen something on different vlogs, actually, this topic being talked about, and it's kind of interesting because it seems to me like some of the older people are almost afraid of maybe not having a lot of friends or something. But take it from me, man, like you don't need a lot of friends to succeed in the Philippines, okay? And definitely don't listen to like any groups of vloggers that act like, you know, you need to be their friend or have a special pay them for a consultation on how to survive and make it in the Philippines, because you don't. When I went to the Philippines, I knew nobody. I had very little money. I did it like on my own. I came out on the other side. Now, I don't recommend that, okay? I went through things that were difficult, because had I had more information and stuff, it probably would have made life easier in some ways. But, you know, I got into a pretty big thing when I first got there. I became a father in a short period of time, and, you know, I had a lot of work to do, man. But anyway, but the few people I did meet there, I was fortunate, because they were cool. But I've also met like a few, like in the community, like other Americans that were very difficult to deal with, like very just really rude and obnoxious. And it's kind of like, you know, when you're neighbors with somebody, and my dad always said this, my dad said something funny, he's like, yeah, you know, in life you can't beat up your neighbors, so you have to try to get along with I'm just joking, I never wanted to beat anybody up, but there's some truth in that. Like, some people have no option, because you can't always choose your neighbors or the people in your community, right? So you sort of have to find common ground, you got to get along, and that's the way, you know, you're supposed to love your neighbor as yourself type of thing, right? Look past people's flaws and not be so critical, and try to appreciate people who they are and all that good stuff. But the problem is some expats, I think, have issues with boundaries. And I think some of that, it almost goes back to the behavior that we've been talking about this channel about, like neo-colonialism, and sort of that relationship of boundaries and roles that Americans, Europeans have in these countries, in a sense. Because, you know, it's just really weird, because I'll give you an example, like that this guy in the community a while back down there, you know, south of Bacolod, he was always like, I don't know, he was always trying to give me advice and stuff, and he was always talking about like 3 bathrooms that he had in his house, and he would be like bragging about it to any Filipino that would listen, and like he's always offered advice like I asked for it. And I guess for me, maybe it's something I got to work on, is like, I like to entertain people because I'm interested in different people. I like to observe them, and I enjoy listening to people, like, even if they talk about themselves to a point. But and maybe I give them the wrong idea, like, then they think they can just sort of like say anything they want and keep talking, and but you know, then they become these really like strange people, and like you see all their tricks and stuff, and then they kind of just become like dull objects or something, and like you're no longer interested in them. No, I'm just joking. But anyway, this guy, it got to the point where like it was starting to, like, he was not just irritating me, he was starting to offend like other Filipinos, because he was like telling them like how they should wear their mask and stuff. This was like back in the COVID days, and he was just always, and it came mostly from a good place because he was trying to help people, but the point is it started coming off as patronizing, okay? Because on the surface, yes, he was trying to help, but in reality, the energy, the vibe was like nobody wanted this man's help. But he keeps going out of his way to act like he's helping people by telling them how to wear their masks, telling them how to build a house, telling them this and that. And yeah, he actually started irritating like some of the local Filipinos, man. They got kind of, you know, kind of some tension there for a while, to the point where he well, and after I kind of laid into him. But I mean, I had a few drinks, and I just pretty much got, I just kind of yelled at him a little bit in a friendly way. You know, some people you gotta metaphorically slap around, not literally, to kind of get their attention, because they're stubborn, especially some expats. But anyway, so he goes and hides out for a while, and then like when he kind of came back on the scene, he was a little bit more chill. And then you know, I was like, hey man, you know, it's all, I don't want you to think that I don't like you or something. You know, I saw him he pulled up to me once, and I noticed now when he talks to me, like he's like, I don't know if he has like a tick, but his right hand trembles a little bit. It's kind of weird, but anyway, but the reason I'm saying that is, don't think that you have to just be friends with everybody, because there is some difficult people, and some expats are awesome, like they're cool people. And also, I think some of that's a retirement thing. I mean, I think like if you're in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, and you got a family, you got like a girlfriend or kids, I mean, like, do we really need to be like, you know, Mr. Social Butterfly, and like, oh, I have 20 friends, you know? It's like, dude, like, go spend time with your family, you know? Like, you know, I'll give you an example. Well, even like vloggers, I've done a couple collaborations with vloggers, and I don't know them that well, but I would consider them you know, like acquaintances. But like I endorse them publicly on YouTube because I like their message, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we're friends. For instance, like this last guy, we were filming in Kentucky, and I stayed, you know, I kept a distance. I stayed like 50 yards away on the house in my own vehicle, in my truck, and I don't even think I used their bathroom. And you know, he was gracious, His family was very nice to me, and we filmed some videos and stuff. But anyway, I support people that I do collaborations with publicly because I like their message. But I don't know these people that well, and they seem like decent people. But I've seen like other vloggers, you know, these guys doing consultations and stuff. I mean, that's cool, I guess. But don't let these people think that, like, you know, you have to be they need you to be their friends or something. It's like, because sometimes, like with these expats that go there, it's really just for them. I think it gives them some kind of sense of power and stuff. It's kind of that old, I don't know, it's a weird colonial relationship internationally, dude. Some strange people out there, man. You know? But and then sometimes expats fight. I guess that's the other problem, is some expats don't get along. Like, you've heard those drama stories in Dumageddon and stuff. So you got to kind of watch out for that. I mean, like I said, some of these guys, they want to kind of be like, you know, the king on the hill, so to speak. They don't want to listen to other expats. They got egos, you know. And I know, like, with the musicians I've hung out with in the past, and like some actors, like when I was living in LA and stuff, I remember, you know, as entertaining as some people are interested in, I mean, I think they're more interested than vloggers, by the way. I mean, people that actually have talent and stuff, like, you know, musicians with depth, or really intelligent people, or, you know, actors, like people of different creative talents. They're interesting people, but they also have egos and stuff, and yeah, it can kind of, you got to keep boundaries, especially like when you're living in these foreign countries. Like, don't get so close to people. Definitely don't trust people. I mean, you know, like I said, I stand on my own, man, and like, people respect this channel because I try not to pull punches. I try to give it to people straight. I'm not really selling anything. Maybe in the future I will. Maybe I'll sell consultations. I mean, I had a guy once, you know, he emailed me and he said, hey, can I donate some money? I wanted some advice from you. And I said, hey, you know, you can just call me, man. Just tell me about your situation. Like, you don't have to pay me for advice. I mean, the last thing I want is a guy to send me 20 bucks and say, hey, is it okay if I go sleep with a 19-year-old when I'm in the Philippines, visiting for 2 months? I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess so. No, of course not. Well, I mean, I gotta say, of course not. I just don't want to be in that situation to where, you know, I don't know, people, like, they think if they give you money or something that it's just a weird relationship, you know? Don't get me wrong, I have nothing against donations. Please donate to the channel. I got a PayPal link if you want. It definitely helps. But yeah, it's just interesting, even expat life, you know, the people you meet in the Philippines, and also, you know, even in the community of vloggers, a lot of interesting people and stuff. But yeah, don't let these vloggers intimidate you into feeling you can't make it in the Philippines, or be afraid to go out there or something like this. Like, if you have half a brain, you know, do your own research. I mean, don't always listen to these people. Don't even listen to everything I say. Cross-reference, check for yourself, do your own research. But be very skeptical when people are, you know, like, be skeptical of, my camera cut off, sorry, like people that are overly eager to want to act like they're trying to help you, or that they want to be your friend. I mean, you know, some of those are the telltale signs of confidant tricks and scammers and stuff like that. Obviously, most people know that. And the same goes for expats that are overly eager. Like, don't try to get involved in business with people and all that necessarily. You know, just use good judgment, I guess. Because, like I said, man, there's cool expats, some of them, and then some of them, you know, they're not so cool. And they, you know, you take some of these traits of lack of boundaries and stuff, and, you know, trying to use people either for monetary gain or just your own weird, like, ego. Like, you take that to an extent. But I'm saying, like, some expats can develop, like, personality issues in life, and they have issues with, like, I don't know, boundaries, and it's pretty much all about them. Like, I'm not saying I'm perfect and stuff, but I try to keep it straight with people, and I think that's one reason people respect this channel. But anyway, please subscribe, guys. Let me know your thoughts on this. Like, do you need a lot of friends in the Philippines, or just a few, or just maybe casual acquaintances to have some coffee with and talk about the traffic and Dumageddon, stuff like that? Keep it light, maybe, right? Don't get too heavily involved with people, that sort of thing. Focus on your wife, your kids. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. It's Captain Trucker. Please subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on this. Take care. Bye-bye.